Hey Mike, how do you set your flash settings?
Well, in order to set your flash, you have to set your camera settings first. If you change your camera settings, then you change your flash settings as well, and we don't want to change too many variables at once.
How do your camera settings change your flash settings?
Well, you know the exposure triangle, right?
Yeah.
Well, for flash photography, we have what's called the exposure diamond. Sounds complicated? It's really not. Let me explain. How much light from your flash makes it into your camera's sensor is determined by 4 things: flash power, flash distance, aperture, and ISO. You'll notice that 2 of those settings are to do with our camera, hence why we always set our camera settings first.
So why does shutter speed not impact your flash?
Well, as long as you're under your flash sync speed, which is normally 1/200th of a second, it doesn't matter how slow your shutter speed is, your flash only goes off once. After the flash fires, it doesn't matter how long I leave the shutter open for because I can't get any more light. My flash only fires once.
Yeah, of course, that makes sense.
Now, your aperture controls flash because if your aperture's stopped down to something like f8, you're only letting in a small amount of light from your flash, compared to f1.2 where your aperture's way wider and you're letting in more light from the flash. And ISO is your camera's sensitivity to light. So if you increase your ISO, your camera picks up more light from the flash. So before you even turn your flash on, set your camera settings for the ambient light. I like to underexpose my subject by about 1 stop because I know I'm going to be adding in the flash to light them up. That is personal preference obviously, but it's what works for my style. And now after all that, you go and turn your flash on. Your variables with the flash are obviously the power of the flash, but don't forget about flash distance. The further away the flash is from your subject, the less of an effect it has. You may have heard of the inverse square law before, I'm not going to get into that here. Now, you can't often control flash distance if you're using on-camera flash, but if you're using off-camera flash, then it's really important. When I'm first starting to set my flash power, I like to start somewhere in the middle, like 1/32nd power, and then I can increase up or down from there. While I'm changing my flash power though, I'm never touching my camera settings. They're staying in manual exactly as they were. Remember, only ever change 1 variable at a time. I hope that helps clear a few things up.